Hey everybody, welcome to Ref Time, powered by RTS and produced by Coraggio Media. I'm Tanya.
And I'm Crane. We'll be covering rules, plays, points of emphasis, and all things official. Welcome back. We got Mr. Kamron Bell in the house with us. Cameron, it's so good to have you here, man.
What's up?
Thanks for being here.
Yeah, glad you could join us.
Thanks for having me.
And I just have to make a little announcement. Cam was in our very first class, our very first referee training class. And now, Tanya and I discussed this. I think your first class was held at the YMCA off of DuPont, Parkview Y.
Yep.
And who were your class members? You remember?
Ricky Jordan.
Okay, he says he was.
I want to say Eddie Eccles, but
Yep, Eddie Eccles
Eddie
was there.
Eddie Eccles,
Yeah.
Maurice Taylor,
Wow, Maurice Taylor.
It's the big guy.
Bianca.
Yep, Bianca Woods.
Bianca.
Yeah.
Wow.
Peter. Not Peter. He worked at
Yep,
the Y.
Peter was there. Yep,
Yep.
Peter Hill.
Yeah, Peter Hill.
Yep.
Wow, you got a great memory.
Yeah.
And the big guy was
There was another guy.
Maurice.
No, taller.
He worked at the Y. He was a director there.
Was that the guy that we?
That's not who I'm thinking of.
It was- Okay.
I'm thinking of the football guy. He plays football. He doesn't play. He was coaching football. I think it's Southside.
He's at Northside now.
Northfleet. Roosevelt.
Oh, Roosevelt.
Yep.
There we go.
Roosevelt.
Yep.
Okay. And so Bianca was the only female that was in the
Bianca was the
class.
only female.
And there was one more too, though. Rory. Wasn't Rory there?
Rory was there. Rory Scott.
Rory
yeah.
Scott.
Yeah.
And I think that's about it on that first.
Now, so then how long have you been an official?
2011 was my first season, so this
Okay.
will be my 12th season.
So then our first class was
2011.
12 years ago.
So, yeah, 12 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, a lot of time. And, you know, RTS has grown quite a bit since then. People have given us suggestions on what to do. But, you know, I like looking back at the people who've actually come through the class, and then you guys have become officials in your own right. Because I know you were one of the first ones. Well, you were the first to come through RTS that got a sectional assignment.
Yeah.
How did that feel?
It was good. I felt like it was a long time coming, but it kind of just showed that everything that I've done up until this point was like starting to pay off.
You know what's funny though is as I listened to you talk, I remember you at one point you were talking about quitting.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And then you come up with a section. I'm just sitting there I'm like an old dad, like shaking my head, like, whoa, what was he thinking? So remembering back, what made you want to quit?
I think just not understanding the process of how officiating works. You know, at that point, I think when we talked, I was like my 8th year. Yeah, it's just my 12th and my 4th. So yeah, my 8th year, and I just wasn't getting the games that I thought I should be getting. Was having to travel to Timbuktu on Wednesday when it's snowing, and it was just a lot of things were starting to accumulate, and it was just like, man, do I really want to do this? And it's not that the sectional assignment like was the pinnacle or like, oh, that's what I want to get to, but I think that's finally when I started getting a little bit more recognition, like, oh, okay, well, guess this guy is good enough. Let's start giving him some better games. Let's keep him here in the city. And was able to grow from there.
So what made you decide to get into officiating? What was?
So I was 18, just had Carter, my oldest, and I think at that time I was working at Arby's maybe. So, you know, not making a lot of money, but had just recently moved out, had a newborn. I was like, I need some extra money. And, you know, I'd known that you had done this. Remember when Reggie first said something to me, I was like, I don't know. And he's like, well, my dad really wants to talk to you about this. And I was like, all right, I'll give him a chance. And you start talking about it. You start getting into like, you know, you're getting paid to work out, things like that. I'm like, okay, that's not too bad. And then like I was able to supplement, you know, my income that way. And I don't know, my son never needed for anything. So that was the original idea behind it. And then my love for it just grew the more and more I got into it.
How'd you feel still being part of the game? You had retired from playing it officially. So how did it feel to be on the court still in a different capacity?
There was some like highs and lows to it. Like sometimes like, man, I could be out there. I would always gauge myself like I could go out there and give these kids buckets. So, you know, I'm not too far removed. And then another part was like you just saw a different side of the game that you didn't really realize. You know, you might only be focused in on one player because that's the star player, whatever. But when you officiate, you got to open up your eyes and see a lot more. So I was able to just appreciate the game more. There's a lot more that I never even knew was a part of the game. Didn't understand the training and the hours and the passion that you needed to officiate. I kind of just like, oh yeah, they get out there, they wear a shirt, they blow a whistle sometimes. Everybody knows what travel is. Everybody knows what out of bounds is. But there's so much more. So,
yes, there is so much more.
Yeah.
The rules, and oh man, we'll get into that a little bit too. So you've been in how long now? So
this would be my 12th season.
So my question for you then is, in 12 seasons, what would you say is the biggest lesson you've learned being an official?
Humility.
Wow. Humility.
Yeah. And it took me a while to get there, but
yes, we know. No, I'm just kidding.
No,
but that is one thing though. When you were a younger official, there's a lot of assigners, and the word for the word about you was he's cocky. And you and I talked about that even in your profession, other things outside of officiating. And I think, when you carry yourself like you do with so much confidence, I won't call it cockiness, I'll call it confidence. Oh, yeah. People question it.
Oh, yeah. Sometimes I feel like people are intimidated by it.
They are.
Like, man, this kid he's only 19, 20 years old.
Yeah.
And he looked 16.
Yeah, you had that baby face.
You had the baby face back then, so.
But just being able to be out there and run up and down the court with them, and I don't think I was a terrible play caller, but I wasn't as good as what I thought I was, and it was hard for me to kind of get over that. So in my personality and everything, I didn't show any kind of weakness or anything, and I think it intimidated some people. And it wasn't until maybe like year 5 or 6 that I was like, you know what? You just open your eyes and open your ears and close your mouth. Like you could learn some things, learn what to do, and also learn what not to do, and then you grow from there and get a lot more serious about it. I didn't even apply to the tournament just because I didn't even think that was a possibility for me until year 8. And first year I applied, I got in and was just like, man, if I was serious about this 4 years ago, like where could I be?
Exactly.
Where could I be?
But I found it interesting, Cam, that you said about your 5th year, that's when you started questioning your own, I guess, level of achievement. But you didn't apply until your 8th year.
Yeah, I mean, I knew that there was like work that I needed to do. And I didn't want to go out there and represent myself in a bad light. So I knew I once I got to that point of where I'm kind of considering things, I realized like, okay, yeah, you're not as good as you think you are. You need to tune up some things. And then once I felt like, you know what, I'm ready for this. I think I can do it. It was a pretty easy process. Well, easy is a relative term, but for me, it was an easy process, and I went for it, got it, and I think that even just kind of like pushed me like, man, okay, if you can do this and you haven't even really been trying, imagine what it could be.
Exactly.
Like if you really get into the books, you really start honing in on, the way you look on the court, the way where your jersey fits.
That's when you start hitting the weight room, getting the muscles.
A little bit. Fire department also helped that.
Yeah.
So speaking about getting into the rule books, let's talk about your pet peeve that we kind of mentioned a little bit ago, which was the closely guarded. So
now you got to say that again though. Before we're talking, why? Because you just tripped me out with what you said.
Yeah. So 5 seconds closely guarded. It was a rule that I was reading the rule book, and so. It states in Rule 410, I believe.
410 is the definition.
I'll
read the definition real quick.
Yeah, but let him say it. You didn't what?
Okay.
You didn't like.
I just didn't like. It gets to me because I didn't like that the coach kind of called me out. So
no, that's not the part I'm talking about. You said you didn't like the way the rule was written.
I don't think the rule is written the way it should be.
But that's okay because there's a lot of rules in there. I mean, that's why we have rule changes. every year.
Well, and that's
because
why
the way they're written.
people don't understand that as officials, it's interpretation.
Yeah,
And
judgment.
Judgment. And so when you're reading the rule, which this isn't technically the rule, it's just the definition of what closely guarded is. Because if we actually go back into Rule 9, that gives us more specific information. And then, like you said, you ended up having to go to our case book to get the full understanding of it, a situational where you're like, oh, okay, so I didn't interpret it correctly. And so that's where some of the complication comes in. And like you said, people think, oh, all we do is throw on a striped shirt, a pair of black pants and shoes, and we step out there and we just, we know what out of bounds is. We know what yes, we do know these things. But then in the heat of the game, and our interpretation, and did we fully understand it? Well, that plays into that, and people don't understand that. So our closely guarded definition states that a closely guarded situation occurs when a player in control of the ball in his or her team's front court is continuously guarded by an opponent who is within 6 feet of the player who is holding or dribbling the ball. The distance shall be measured from the forward foot or feet of the defender to the forward foot or feet of the ball handler. A closely guarded count shall be terminated when the offensive player in control of the ball gets his or her head and shoulders past the defensive player.
I'm sorry, let me stop you there, because there's one part that you read, the sentence prior to that, a lot of people, coaches and fans and players don't realize. Yeah, they do that. They put their hand out there, and they're 8 feet away from the player, and they're going, come on, ref, closely guard. And I just look at them. And I'm not going to explain the rule during the game, and a coach may come up to you halftime, part-time, whatever, and you say, Coach, it's 6 feet
it's from the foot
to foot.
Yeah.
And they don't get that. And then that goes back to what you said. A lot of people think that we as officials, oh, anybody can do that, but they don't know. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, that's a great point. And so what you were saying is that you had a closely guarded count on a player who was dribbling the ball, and he picked the ball up,
right,
and you kept your count
going,
because it states in here that
it terminates
when the offensive player gets his head or his or her head and shoulders past the defensive player. Well, obviously, if he picked the ball up, he didn't get his head and shoulders past the offensive or the defensive player.
Right.
But if we go back to, the Rule 9:10, a player shall not, while closely guarded in the team's front court, hold the ball for 5 seconds or dribble the ball for 5 seconds. Again, that's still no clarification that the count stops. In the team's front court, control the ball for 5 seconds in an area enclosed by screening teammates. Okay. Article 2, a closely guarded count shall not be started during an interrupted dribble. So if we have a fumbling of the ball, we stop the count. And a closely guarded count shall be terminated during interrupted dribble, which is kind of the same thing. No, it shouldn't be started, and it shall be terminated. So, but the rule is, if I'm dribbling, and the defender is close, within 6 feet, I have my count going. Once I pick the ball up, count stops.
Well, does it say that, though? Because from what you read, and that's what Cam didn't understand as a younger official, from the reading of the rule, there was no indication of when the count is supposed to stop. You and I, him too now, as
veteran officials,
we know that when you pick the ball up, the count stops. But does it say that in the rules?
It stops, but you actually start a new count.
Starting a new count, yeah.
So is that where you got confused in your
it
early
was
career?
Because, I read the rule and I was like, okay, yep, I got that. That's pretty simple. Because it says until your shoulders pass the shoulders of the defender. It wasn't until I got into the case book and I realized that, so if somebody's holding the ball, somebody's playing defense, you have a 5-second count. When they start dribbling, you start a new 5-second count. When they pick the ball up again, you got a new 5-second count.
Exactly.
Right.
So you got 15 seconds, right?
That one player actually has 15 seconds.
And a lot of people don't know this, and this is why, part of the reason we started the podcast. A lot of people outside of officiating don't realize the depth of the rules, and they don't realize how many rules you have to be familiar with, and judgment is always playing a part. But the point is, a lot of us probably won't. A lot of us pick up some of these rules when we go to camps, and people don't realize how many books we have to study out of. There's actually 3 books, and when I started, there was 4.
Right.
Well,
we have the rule book, the case book,
then
and
the officials
manual.
And we used to have what we call they call, some people call it the funny book, some people call it the what was it called, the diagram book, I think it was. But
that's kind of morphed into the officials manual now.
Yeah, they morphed it in because they used to have this one manual. We were trying to figure out where we can find one where they had figures drawn to explain to you what, I mean,
player 1,
right,
or player A1,
right.
and the
player
books
B1.
had the diagrams drawn out with player figures in there. That made it a whole lot easier. I don't know why they stopped printing those. We need to again. But a lot of these things are very, very important. So I'm glad you brought that up.
So I know that was kind of quick on that, but
Well, we'll be discussing it over time. If that's
Yeah,
one of his pet
definitely.
peeves,
Yeah,
I'm sure it's going to come up
definitely.
again in one of the,
So,
the later shows.
So we've been hearing a lot about the need of officials. What is kind of your take on that? What do you see, like, are we in kind of a crisis mode? And what do you have, if you have any thoughts, like what are some thoughts that we can do to correct that?
He has thoughts. He has that look on his face.
Or grow that.
Yeah, I mean, if we're being honest, yes, we're starting to have a shortage of officials, of qualified officials. But I think that could be easily rectified if we spent more time in the development. Once an official gets to that level where he's one of the guys, he's reffing all the.
Or she.
I'm sorry, or she. It's 2022. You can't be talking like that. You get to the point where you're one of the top dogs and you're reffing all the good games. You kind of forget like where you come from. You kind of forget that you didn't always have this status. You didn't always have this knowledge and skill for the art of officiating. And so we kind of leave those people who are doing the lower level games, and they kind of feel stuck there until they get a mentor. They go to a camp. They start to develop more, and they have just such a stronghold on those upper level games,
Right.
that they're not reaching down and trying to pull people up, because it's, if we're being honest, officiating is kind of like a dog eat dog world. You can't really want like everybody to come up with you, because that means that's less for you at the top. So
is that part of the frustration you were talking about in your 8th year and why you were thinking about quitting?
It was. I just felt like I was stuck in like that, kind of like that limbo. I was kind of stuck in the, he can do varsity games, but he's kind of like a JV official. We'll use him like when we need him.
So you felt you weren't getting the respect you deserved.
I wasn't. And
now, do you feel that that's true of some other were you hearing that about some other younger officials too? That were they expressing?
Yeah, and I mean that happens a lot. Whether you're young in age or just young in the profession, it's hard to break through. It takes either the luck of an assigner seeing you at a camp, or you having like a close relationship with them maybe, and they're able to see that.
Now, I got to play devil's advocate here.
Okay.
I'm good at that. I saw you squint at me too. It's coming. The reason I have to do that is because my experience was a lot different than yours. I got brought along by a mentor, and that's Clark Hamilton. Hopefully he's going to be on soon. And we were talking earlier about you have that confident or cocky attitude, and you and I talked about that in years past, and you didn't really feel that you needed a mentor in your cockier years.
Right.
So I wonder if that contributed to your feelings of not, because I never really had the feeling that I wasn't getting where I wanted to go. I had mentors who would tell me exactly what I needed to go where I wanted to go.
Well, we didn't have assigners back when you started either.
No, we didn't have assigners, that's true, but we had to contact schools. Well, I'm glad you mentioned that. I guess I did experience that a little bit, because I was struggling with who I can find to work with to go get the other game. So I guess we all go through that. Mine just it didn't seem like it was as intense.
Yeah.
And maybe that's because I had a conversation with you more than once, and you expressed to me how frustrated you were. And I probably had the same conversations with older, experienced officials and just don't remember it. So, yeah, I concede to that. But how important do you think it is to have mentors?
Very important. You don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
You sit here and you read a rule book, and it's like, oh, well, that's what the rule book says.
Yes.
You don't have anybody telling you like, hey, there's a little bit more to that.
Yes.
You know, you gotta kind of dive deeper. You gotta open your eyes up. You know, when you're new, you're very laser focused.
Yeah.
You know, you're just like, okay, I gotta show up at this time. I gotta put this shirt on. I gotta make sure my pants are, you know, ironed. They're looking right. I'm gonna go out there. I'm gonna blow the whistle when I see something. You know, you're not thinking about everything else that kind of goes along with that. So having that mentor, they definitely shed some light on things that maybe you were in the dark about. So
that's a good point, because a lot of it cracks me and Tanya. We can be at a gym. I'll just say Sport One. This is hilarious to me. We have people walking up to us before games, during games, after games. Hey, I'm such and such. I just got my license. I'm like, congratulations. Hey, I heard about you guys. Okay, what can I help you with? Hey, I just got my license and I'm not sure what to do. And they told me you could help me. Who told you we could help you? Well, that ref over there. Oh, okay. And I say, okay, well, let me have your name and number. And we go back home, we're laughing, we're going, well, that's what the dang gun class is for. So people...
and that's what I refer them to. I'm like, we have a class coming up. And, you know, as a matter of fact, I'm working on getting one scheduled for January. So if you know anyone new that would like to get some training, we'll definitely welcome that. I actually had a lady yesterday who was complaining. I was standing there near the manager for Sport One or for that league, and she was sitting there complaining to her, and I happened to be there, and I was listening. And so then, you know, a few minutes went by, and I didn't say anything right away because I didn't want to be like I was attacking her. But then, you know, so she kind of settled down, and a few minutes later I go over to her. I said, you know what? I said, we offer a class. I said, we need more officials, especially females, because we do. And I was being sincere. But at the same time, I'm like, if you're going to complain about it, be about it.
Jump in and do something.
Do something, you know. Don't just stand there and complain. Just like, you know, people want to complain at the scorekeeper. Oh, you didn't count the basket. Well, you can walk right on over there and take over for them and get paid the same amount they're getting paid. So,
Matter of fact, she's saying that because we had a game a few weeks ago, and she actually turned around and said that to a lady. I was like, why are you talking to the crowd?
You know, well, I have a baby. No, I said, well, that's okay.
I was just inviting her over.
You can take the baby over there.
And she did not move.
But, you know,
and she shut up, too.
And she did. She stopped complaining. But, you know, it's just like the other night, you know, you had a scrimmage. Well, they had... you know, they had one person keeping the clock and the shot clock because it was a college scrimmage. And I'm like...
That's tough.
So, you know, I see the girl over there, and she's starting the clock early, and she's doing this, and she's doing her best.
She's doing the best she could.
Nobody said anything to her.
And as officials, we never bothered with it because, number one, we knew it was a scrimmage. We knew she was solo.
So I ended up going over there after halftime, and I said, hey, you know, do you want help? You know, and so, so I ended up sitting there keeping the clock, and she kept the shot clock. So she was like, oh, thank you, because, I mean, it is a lot. And so people don't realize if you're going to complain, step up and do something, help.
And I think people maybe do realize that it's not as easy as they make it out to be, because if they thought it was easy, then it's like, oh, I can go out there and do that easy. But then they don't, because it's like maybe they talk to a couple people or they actually watch an official and see everything that they're doing, and it's like, ooh, yeah, maybe that's not for me.
Well, a lot of people say, what? Oh, I don't want to get yelled at.
Yeah, but you're the one yelling at people.
So. Right.
Have you ever, since you started officiating, do you go to games and sit there in the general crowd?
Oh yeah.
Okay, good. So what are you hearing?
You know, you hear those buzzwords like over the back or come on 3 seconds, and you know, I don't want to. You never want to be like, well, I'm an official, so let me
you do
explain
not want to do that.
You don't want to do. You don't want to do that
because I've done it, and it's not a popular thing to say. I do not want to
sit there and add.
Because then they turn around and ask you on every call.
Wasn't that a foul?
Don't you think that's a foul? Yeah.
Well, did they blow their whistle?
Right.
That's my answer.
I don't know. He didn't think it was a foul. She didn't think it was a foul.
Right. But yeah, so you're sitting there, and it's like, I kind of just try to play coy and blend in. Like, I don't know. Like, I think maybe it's there has to be something more to it. Why they didn't call it.
They don't want to hear that.
They have a different angle.
And then, right? You know, that might be during the JV game or something. And then they see me walk out in the varsity court, and they're like, "Oh my goodness."
Yeah.
I was talking to
What
an
did I-
actual.
What did I say? Did I say something like, I hope he doesn't remember me?
Yeah, hope he didn't cheat against my team.
Right.
And most people don't realize, and that's why we try to get people to look at officiating. So we're looking at some other things too. Maybe there's some people out there that just wanna, like, and they want to do volleyball and just keep score, and we may get into
Or line
training.
judge.
Yeah, because
Line
I
judging.
love line judging college. Which reminds me, when you're doing officiating, you do high school and college. Which one do you prefer and why?
High school.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I
Because
mean,
you make a lot more in college.
you do make a lot more in college, but I found
Also have to
that
travel more.
Sometimes. Sometimes.
Yeah.
I mean, Manchester's not that far.
No.
Trine's not that far.
but you know what's closer?
What way?
Snyder High School, Northrop High School,
North side.
North Side.
South side.
I just find that it's like I feel like I can focus more on actual officiating. Like, you know, if I make a mistake, if I'm out of position, maybe I put my left hand up instead of my right hand, or I use the wrong mechanic. Like, that's not going to prevent me from moving forward or getting another game, because we all make mistakes. Whereas in the college level, everything that you do,
Has
you know,
to
from
be.
the time you step out of the car,
Yeah.
from the time you accept the game, even,
Yes.
That's true.
you're being watched and
Yep.
everything is being judged. And it's not that I can't handle that pressure, but I didn't get into officiating to become rich. I didn't get into officiating to try to, you know, go be the number one person, although that's a mentality that I have, but that's not a goal that I have. You know, I want to be the best that I can be, and I feel like if I'm the best that I can be, then I will be one of the best. But high school, I just feel like I can have more fun when I'm out there.
I haven't talked to this young
relax.
man in a long time. He's pretty intelligent.
He is.
He's come so
He's
far.
come along.
He's come along.
So let me
growed up.
ask you. Yeah, you have. You definitely have, and it's been fun watching you
It
grow.
has. It has.
In many ways.
It's been fun
you know,
working with you.
Your personal, you know, watching you as a husband and father. It's been pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, how many kids you got now?
I have 3 kids.
What's their ages?
all boys.
All boys.
What's their ages?
3, 9, and getting ready.
You gotta give me names and
3.
ages, man.
Sorry.
Gotta give me
Carter.
names.
You're not gonna remember them.
No,
Three-
but
three
but
boys.
it's on tape, so I can go back to it.
3 boys. Carter, he's 12, 7th grade. Dre, he's
Wow,
9.
7th grade.
He's in 3rd grade, and then little Kendrick, he's 5 years old. Well, if you ask him, he's 5 and a half.
That's right.
And he's in kindergarten.
So how many kids do you and your wife want? Did you guys have
I was
a
okay
number?
with just having one. I really didn't want any kids. No.
Yeah, right.
But you know, things happen.
She
but,
wanted more than one?
I think so.
Okay.
I think she did. And it happened, and it's like, okay, this just changes my mindset, and you know, just being lucky, and by the grace of God, I was given 3 boys, and if we would have had a 4th, you know, and if it was a girl, it's not that I would have, oh well, this is the girl, but you know, I was like, okay, I've been put on this earth to be the greatest example for them. And I feel like I can do that through my professional career as a firefighter. I can do that as an official. Just show them that, you know, there's multi layers to the things that you can do and the ways that you can impact the community, ways that you can impact other people's lives, the ways you can impact your own family. And I just feel like like I said, being the best that I can be, I will be one of the best. And my boys will see that, and it gives them I want to be better than Dad. So
I'm so proud of him. He come so far.
So to wrap this up, I just want to talk a little bit about your experience on going through the referee training school. Obviously, it was 12 years ago, but what do you remember as far as coming through the course, and how did it help you?
It was great for me, because without this, I probably would have been worse than just reading the book and be like, oh, I played basketball for 17 years. I could do this.
I don't know if you would have done it if it hadn't been for RTS, though.
I probably wouldn't have. No,
Oh.
because like I said, when Reggie first reached out to me, I'm just like, I don't know if I want to do that. Like, you know, I kind of still want to play. But going through the school, it was eye-opening to see, like, there's so many different levels of this, and there's so many opportunities out there, and really as many opportunities as you want.
Yep.
You know, I feel like my phone's going off every other day. You guys text me, hey, you know, what are your dates
And
available
he
for
didn't
this?
respond to me. It's okay, though.
I'm busy now. I'm busy now. But
he has a life now.
But being able to go through the school and be around other people who, you know, have no idea about officiating, we're all learning together. So it's not like one person is better than the other. And then learning from you guys, you have lots of experience in this, and you've been doing it for years. And just like to fine tune things. You know, you didn't make me perfect coming out of school, so I wouldn't want anybody to feel like, oh, if I go through the school, then I'm gonna be a varsity official. I'm gonna be a D1 official. I can go to the NBA.
Well, now we made you perfect. It's just that you had a cocky thing going. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, but you know, you set good foundation, a way to you know read a rule every day, every week, and try to just break that down and see like what more you can get out of it.
Good.
You know, there were times where you're like, okay, I want you to give me a traveling call, and then everybody in the room would grade you, and it's like, I don't know how much more perfect I can do this. I'm holding my arms square, not too fast, not too slow.
And you didn't get an A.
And you never got a perfect score. And I'm just like, okay, you know, you talked about being in the mirror even and doing that, and it's just like, I ain't doing that. That just seems weird.
Right.
But at the same time, once I did start doing it, I'm just like, oh, I didn't realize that I slouch my shoulders. Or when I go to report a number, like my hands are backwards sometimes. Like, so you got to always think about that, like right hand first, then left hand. So, man, turn that off. We on the phone.
Tell me about it, man.
But anyway, it was just it was a good base foundation. And then some of these people who I went through class with, I mean, I'm still in communication with today. So it's very nice to get that start in it. You know, you can go take the test, and yeah, you might pass, and they may give you a license, but you're not going to be ready. You need that group of supporters. You need those mentors who are going to be there, and you guys have definitely been mentors to me, because when I go to officiate at times, I think back to 12 years ago when I was going through that class, and it's like, okay, now you got to think about this. Well, how are you going to talk to a coach? And all those things can be learned in the RTS school. So
good.
I like it.
Good.
All right,
So that means you'll be bringing 12 people to January's class for us?
I'll see what I can do.
Oh, he's going to bring us 13.
I'll see what I can do.
All right.
I want some royalties.
Oh, we can help you with that.
Yeah, we can help you with that.
All right.
I need another notebook, too, because I filled my one up last year.
Did you really?
I did.
We got another note. We got some new ones now. You didn't get one of the new ones,
Yeah,
did he?
he's got a new one.
How'd he get a new one? He went to the class 12 years ago. We didn't have him.
No, she gave it to me at the
Yeah, because he
beginning
came in talk.
when I
Oh, that's
spoke.
right. You came as a
Yeah.
guest speaker to one of
Yeah.
the classes.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah. You filled yours up?
I did. So
Yeah,
I would
but you
write
filling
down-
it up with stuff besides RTS, see?
Nope. I
Yeah,
used it.
right.
I will send you a picture of when I get home. I'd write down. So before I get there, I'd write down who my partners were. I'd
Good.
write down where I went.
Good.
I was kind of doing it because I did, like, I know that you guys like track your mileage and things like that, and I was going to use this as a example to say, like, hey, like, I traveled 1,041 miles this season,
Wow.
and you know, I'm still not able to do that. So I wanted to do that, but then it just became like, it's good to go back and reflect, and you know, notes that you remember or something that you might have missed that you want to get better at. So then I go back and read, and it's like, oh, this game where I was, you know, we went to South Bend, Washington. Like, I worked with Casey Gaynor and Jalen Robinson, and man, like, okay, I might not ever see those guys again, but if I see their name, I can go back and look and be like, okay, yeah, I remember those guys. And so it was good. It was good.
That is one thing about officiating that I think I've learned, and you said it earlier. The more you officiate, the more you realize there's so much you don't know, and there's so many things you can learn, extra things, new things. And I mean, I've been at it almost 30 years, and I'm amazed at things I still learn. One of the things that we picked up, and you might want to adopt this too, is when we go and do games now, we get a picture with whoever we ref with. And that way, you know, save it on your phone, and that way you kind of have an archive, a face to match the names that you have in your book.
Right.
And then, like you say, in your journal, you want to write down, and we will get you another journal, but you want to write down outstanding things that happen, exceptional things that happen, whether they're good or bad. You can learn from
I would
those
say,
things.
I would always try to write down 2 good things that I got and 1 thing that wasn't so great.
Oh, good.
Because, I mean, there's like we said, there's no such thing as a perfect game. There's no such thing as a perfect official. But if you can improve on those things that didn't go so well and try to accentuate those things that did go well,
Yes.
you know, you just keep rising up.
Yes,
and,
sir.
I mean, there's always something to learn. So as long as you don't ever lose that mentality, sky's the limit.
You got to get him, man, as an instructor. He's doing good. He can teach.
All right, so we need to wrap up. Thank you very much, Kamron, for coming out.
Thank
we
you
appreciate
again for having
it.
me. This was fun.
Yeah, we have to have you on
Awesome.
again. This is a good
fun.
time.
Yep.
All right.
All right.
Well, be back for our next segment of Ref Time. Thanks again for listening to Ref Time, powered by RefTrainingschool.com and Hoosier3on3.com. Produced by Coraggio Media, Ref Time is recorded in WELT Studios in beautiful downtown Fort Wayne, Indiana.
To join RTS, visit RefTrainingschool.com. Please like, subscribe, and share with your friends. Until next time.